Hi, this is Dave and welcome to the Table, and today we're going to be taking a look at a small box game from Garfield Games called Cibola. Now this is a card game for 2 or 4 players. It's a race to see who is going to be the first to unlock the 7 gold statues to claim all of the treasure. The game is going to be revolving around playing different keys to unlock these different statues and using some tools that are going to help you along the way. Let's take a look at the game, how it's played, and I'll come back and I'll give you my thoughts. Okay, here I have Cibola set up for 2 players. What I've done is shuffled up the whole deck of cards. Each player is going to start off with a different statue. So this one we're starting off with this green one that has to do with leaves, and the opposite player has one that is red and there's like serpents on there. Each player is dealt a starting hand of 5 cards, and we'll take a look at those. There are a bunch of different keys, and there could be tools on there as well. And then there's going to be 4 cards that are going to be dealt out in the center, and these are going to be the statues that we are going to be competing against to unlock. And most of them are gold. However, there are also silver statues, and I'll talk about these in a minute. Now, the way that we're going to unlock these statues is by placing keys that are going to match the corresponding type. And so, for example, this wood, this is brown, will match up with these here. Now, if you notice, there are a bunch of different shapes to these keys. We have like a kite shape, we have a round, an octagon, or octagon, a hexagon, and there's also a circle that's in here as well. And these are, as you can see, they all go to these different types, and they will be noted on the different statues. And so on our turn, we have a few different things that we can do. The first thing that we can do is we can place a key. And by placing a key, what happens is you're going to take a card from your hand, one of the keys, and you're going to place it. This would be this player's turn over here. You're going to place that key in front of that statue that matches it up, and they're going to draw a card into their hand. That's one thing that you can do on your turn. Another thing that you can do is that you can choose to search for different keys. So let's say, for example, we have this hand of cards here, and there's nothing that you really want to play. Maybe we've got a couple tools that we don't really want to use right now, or we're fishing for things. What we can do is we can discard up to 3 different keys and draw new ones. So we're going to hold on to this one because there's brown out there, and this purple one. But let's say, for example, we're going to get rid of these 2 cards. I'm going to discard them face up and draw 2 new ones into my hand. That's another action that you can do. Third thing that we can do is we can choose to replace a statue. And how that's going to work is that we are going to pick up one of the chosen statue cards here that maybe I want to have. So maybe I'm going to draw this one. I don't need to have 2 of them out there. And I'll take that card into my hand, which happens to be this one. And then I'm going to place the top one onto this particular field. So now we have this red one. And now what I have to do is either place a key from my hand below the new statue, or I have to discard a card. Well, these black ones, these are wilds, and so what they can do is they can be any color, but it has this particular shape. So for example, here is this hexagon, and I'm going to place it right here just like that, and then draw a new card on my turn. Another thing that we can do is we can use a tool, and we have 3 different tools that we can play. The first thing, if we do, we can choose to play a hammer, and if we play a hammer, what we're going to do is destroy a key from my opponent's side. And so I can only destroy the most recent key that they have played on a chosen statue. So for example here, since there's only one out there, I can destroy this. This will go in the discard pile, and then I'll draw a new card into my hand. Another thing that I could do, let's say for example this was still out there, I could choose to play the hook, and if I play the hook, what'll happen is I'll steal this one and I'll take it right into my hand. And so that is going to allow me to basically pick up something that I can play on my side, and then I'll draw another another card into my hand. The third thing that I can do is I can play this torch. And if I play the torch, what that's going to allow me to do is I can steal a card from the opponent's hand. So they would reveal their whole hand to me. I would choose one, put it into my hand, and then they would draw a card. So for example, let's say I wanted this card. I would put it into my hand, and they would draw a new one and put it in their hand. So those are the different things that we can do. Again, we're just going to take turns playing cards on these statues. Let's say, for example, another turn I would play this one here because this matches up. Maybe on a subsequent turn, this player played this one over here, and you know we're building up and we're competing against these cards. Eventually, we're going to play out where, for example, here, if we were able to get first one to get 5 of the different shapes in front of the statue, what's going to happen is, let's say, for example, there was one. They maybe had some cards on the other side. If I have a bone, I don't know if I have a bone. Okay, here we go. So it's, for example, if we opened up this one here, what's going to happen is we're going to take this one and we're going to score it, put it over here in front of us in our unlocked pile. All of these cards are going to be discarded. We put a new one out, and then we're going to draw into our hand a new card. Now let me talk about these silver statues really quickly. Now the silver statues are essentially like a wild. We can use any color to match those up. So for example, if I wanted to, I could place these red key cards to unlock it here. So I'm going to need to have multiple, but I have to play the same color. Now interestingly, the other player has to choose a different color to play here. It's going to be the same thing to unlock this one. Whoever gets 5 cards will unlock this one. We'll do the same thing. And so what's going to happen then is this play is going to continue until one player has unlocked all 7 of the different statue types, and that player is going to be the winner. All right, let's talk about Cibola. And this is a clever card game. Has a nice racing feel to it in which you are competing to get these different gold statues. And I enjoy the 2-player games where you're squaring off against an opponent to battle over a specific card. So this reminds me of games that I've played like Pinata or 4 Tribes, or even more recent release Daxu. They all have different elements in here, and this just happens to be a race to unlock these different statues. And so I like the aspect of it being a race, and there's some really cool things in here that just drive this to be all about trying to manage your hand and manipulate the cards. So you've got some cool actions that you can do on your turn. You know, if you don't have good cards in your hand, you can always discard them, draw new ones. But the thing that really makes this game quite clever is the fact that you can switch around the statues that are out for you to claim. So if there is something that your opponent might be going for and nobody's played any cards there yet, it might be a great opportunity for you to pull that card into your hand and put a different statue out there that maybe your opponent doesn't need in an attempt to slow them down. So it's kind of that's a neat little trick that you can use in the game. It does have a little bit of some take that aspects with it, especially with the tools, because it's going to allow you to mess with your opponent and try to slow them down. So how you can best use those to your best ability is going to lend into the game. Now, if you hold on to too many tools in your hand, it's going to slow your progress down because you're not going to have the selection of keys that you're going to play. So there's going to have this balance that you're going to have to come up with in playing the game. Another neat aspect to the game is that you do have the wilds that are in there that you can use. So it's not going to keep the game, it's not going to keep the game from dragging on and on because you can use those wild cards in there. And I do like the aspect of the silver statues where you pick a color and you can play those all out. And once you're committed to a color, before your opponent can jump in on there, but they have to play a different one. So try to anticipate what kind of cards maybe they have in their hand and try to stick it to them. So you've got this nice little competitive card game in Cibola. I like the take that aspect to it. I like the hand management aspect. The game plays in about a half an hour, so it's a quick filler type game. It's perfect for 2 players. The game also now has rules for a 4-player game in which the 2 players are playing as teams, and you're alternating and trying to play to collect statues together. So it's a neat thing that you can play, have couples squaring off against each other too. So that's an extra option too. So a fun little game with Cibola. It's got a nice amount of strategy to it. It's got some really cool artwork with these statues on there, and so something quite enjoyable. Fills a nice spot in your filler part of your library, and that is Cibola. All right, that's it for now, and join me again next time as we take a look at another game and we see how it makes it to the table. Bye-bye.